In a remote corner of southern France, perched on a hilltop overlooking the rugged Languedoc landscape, lies the tiny village of Rennes-le-Château. For centuries, it was nothing more than a collection of crumbling stone houses and a dilapidated church. But in the late 19th century, a humble country priest arrived with nothing but a suitcase and a prayer. And within a few years, he was spending a fortune that, in today's money, would amount to tens of millions of dollars. He didn't win a lottery, and he had no inheritance. What he found beneath the altar of his church would not only change his life, but would spark a mystery involving the Knights Templar, the Holy Grail, and a secret so explosive it threatened to topple the foundations of the Catholic Church. This is the true, startling history of the Rennes-le-Château treasure, a riddle wrapped in stone, gold, and blood. The arrival of Bérenger Saunière. The year was 1885. Bérenger Saunière, a handsome, charismatic, and stubborn 33-year-old priest, was assigned to the parish of Rennes-le-Château. The village was impoverished, isolated, and forgotten. The church, dedicated to Mary Magdalene, was in a state of near collapse. Rain leaked through the roof, and the altar was literally rotting away. Saunière was a man of the earth, but he was also deeply ambitious. For the first few years, he lived in abject poverty, often surviving on the charity of his parishioners. However, he was determined to restore the dignity of his church. In 1887, with a small loan from the village council and a donation from a wealthy widow, he began a modest renovation. He had no idea that moving a single stone would unleash a century of conspiracy theories. The discovery beneath the altar. The turning point came in 1891. While workmen were removing the ancient altar stone, they discovered that one of the supporting pillars, a Visigothic artifact dating back to the 7th or 8th century, was hollow. Inside, Saunière allegedly found 4 wooden tubes containing parchment scrolls. According to local legend and later accounts, these parchments contained genealogies and biblical texts, but with a twist. When certain letters were extracted using a complex cipher, they revealed cryptic messages in French. One of the most famous read, "To Dagobert II, king, and to Sion belongs this treasure, and he is there dead." Another message alluded to blue apples at noon. Shortly after this discovery, Saunière's behavior changed. He halted the official renovations and began digging in the church graveyard at night, often accompanied by his young housekeeper and confidant, Marie de Narnaud. They were seen overturning tombstones and effacing inscriptions. When the villagers complained to the bishop about the priest's sacrilegious activities, the complaints were strangely silenced. The mystery of the sudden wealth. Then came the money. Suddenly, the priest who couldn't afford a new cassock began spending like a king. He built a sprawling, luxurious estate that seemed entirely out of place in a peasant village. He constructed the Villa Bethania, a grand mansion where he hosted elaborate banquets for elite guests from Paris. He built the Tour Magdala, a neo-Gothic library tower perched on the edge of the cliff. He installed formal gardens, a glass-walled promenade, and a private zoo. He also finished the renovation of the church, but in a way that defied all ecclesiastical norms. At the entrance, he placed a terrifying statue of the demon Asmodeus, the custodian of secrets and the builder of Solomon's temple, crouching under the holy water stoup. Above the door, he inscribed the chilling words, "Terribilis iste locus," "This place is terrible." The walls were covered in strange, vivid stations of the cross that contained historical anomalies. For instance, in one scene, a child is depicted wearing a Scottish plaid cloth. In another, the body of Christ is being carried into the tomb after the moon has risen, suggesting to some that he was still alive. What did he find? The question that has haunted historians and treasure hunters for a century is, where did the gold come from? There are 3 primary theories that bridge the gap between historical reality and myth. 1. The Visigothic or Templar gold. Rennes-le-Château sits in a region that was once the heart of the Visigothic kingdom. When the Visigoths sacked Rome in 410, they carried off the treasure of Solomon, which reportedly included the menorah and other gold from the Temple of Jerusalem. Some believe this treasure was hidden in the mountains of Languedoc. Others point to the Knights Templar, who had a strong presence in the area and were known for their immense vanished wealth. Did Saunière stumble upon a physical hoard of ancient gold? 2. The secret of the Holy Grail. This is the theory that captured the world's imagination through the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail, and later Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code. The theory suggests that the treasure wasn't gold, but information. Specifically that the parchments proved Jesus Christ had married Mary Magdalene and that their bloodlines survived in the Merovingian kings of France. Under this theory, Saunière didn't find coins, he found a secret so explosive that the Vatican paid him millions in hush money to keep it quiet. This would explain why he was never defrocked despite his flagrant disregard for church authority. The third is the mass trafficking reality. Historians who prefer a more grounded explanation point to a darker secret. During this era, it was a common, though illegal, practice for priests to sell masses. Wealthy donors would pay for a priest to say a prayer for their soul. Saunière, being a brilliant self-promoter, advertised in religious magazines across Europe. He received thousands of requests and checks in the mail. He was essentially running a 19th century mail-order business. Records show he received money for thousands of masses he could never possibly have said. This mass trafficking was the official reason the church eventually suspended him in 1910. However, skeptics argue that even this lucrative trade couldn't account for the sheer scale of his architectural spending. The Deathbed Confession. In January 1917, Saunière suffered a sudden stroke. A priest from a neighboring church was called to perform the last rites. According to legend, the priest entered Saunière's room to hear his final confession, but emerged minutes later, visibly shaken, pale and trembling. He reportedly refused to grant Saunière absolution and fell into a deep depression for the rest of his life. Whatever Saunière whispered with his dying breath, it was enough to terrify a fellow man of God. Saunière died on January 22, 1917, leaving everything to his housekeeper, Marie de Narnaud. For decades, Marie lived in the Villa Bethania, maintaining the priest's secrets. She famously told curious neighbors, "The people here walk on gold without knowing it," and promised to tell someone a secret before she died that would make them rich and powerful. Unfortunately, in 1953, Marie suffered a stroke that left her unable to speak. She took the secret of Rennes-le-Château to her grave. The global phenomenon. The story might have remained a local French legend if not for a man named Noël Corbu who bought Saunière's estate and turned it into a hotel in the 1950s. To attract tourists, he embellished the story of the priest's gold. By the 1960s and 70s, the story reached the UK and the USA. Authors Michael Bagent, Richard Lee, and Henry Lincoln spent years investigating the site, leading to the 1982 bestseller Holy Blood, Holy Grail. They linked Saunière to a mysterious secret society called the Priory of Sion. While much of the Priory of Sion story was later revealed to be an elaborate hoax by a Frenchman named Pierre Plantard, the core mystery of Saunière's wealth remains unsolved.
Rennes-le-Château today. Today, the village is a pilgrimage site for conspiracy theorists, history buffs, and treasure hunters. The ground has been dug up so many times by people looking for the lost scrolls or Visigothic gold that the French government has officially banned digging in the area. Walking through the church today, you can still see the demon Asmodeus staring at you. You can see the Tour Magdala, where Saunière spent his afternoons looking out over the valley. The air in the village feels heavy with the weight of things unsaid. Was Saunière a lucky treasure hunter who found an ancient stash of coins? Was he a clever fraudster who exploited the faith of thousands? Or was he the guardian of a secret that reaches back to the very origins of Western civilization? The gold may be gone, but the mystery of Bérenger Saunière remains the greatest cold case in the history of France. It reminds us that sometimes the most incredible stories aren't found in fiction books, but buried beneath the floorboards of a crumbling country church. While the death of Bérenger Saunière in 1917 closed the book on the man, it blew the doors wide open on a mystery that would eventually span centuries, connecting French royalty, high-stakes fart, and a secret society that might, or might not, exist. To understand the full scale of what was hidden at Rennes-le-Château, we have to look beyond the gold and into the cryptic clues Saunière left behind, starting with a painting and a date that haunts the village to this day. The Poussin connection, art as a map. One of the most baffling layers of the Rennes-le-Château mystery involves the 17th century master painter Nicolas Poussin. Legend has it that when Saunière traveled to Paris to have the parchments deciphered, he visited the Louvre and purchased a reproduction of Poussin's famous work, The Shepherds of Arcadia, Les Bergers d'Arcadie. The painting depicts 3 shepherds and a shepherdess gathered around an ancient stone tomb. One shepherd points to an inscription, Et in Arcadia ego, even in Arcadia, I, death, am. For decades, researchers noticed something chilling. The mountain landscape in the background of Poussin's painting bears a striking resemblance to the hills surrounding Rennes-le-Château. Even more incredible, in the 1970s, a tomb was discovered in a nearby field, the Arcs tomb, that looked almost identical to the one in the painting. Was Poussin, a man known for hiding esoteric symbols in his art, part of an ancient chain of guardians of the Rennes-le-Château secret? The phenomenon of the blue apples. Saunière's Church of Mary Magdalene wasn't just a place of worship, it was a physical riddle. Every year on January 17th, the date Saunière suffered his stroke, and the feast day of St. Anthony, a strange optical phenomenon occurs. As the midday sun hits a specific stained glass window, a series of bright orb-like patterns of blue light are projected on the opposite wall. These blue apples, as mentioned in the deciphered parchments, move across the church until they settle on the altar and a statue of a demon. To treasure hunters, this isn't just a trick of light, it's a celestial GPS. Many believe that if one were to dig exactly where the blue light rests on that specific day, the true heart of the treasure would be revealed. The Priory of Sion, hoax or smokescreen? In the 1960s, the mystery took a dark intellectual turn with the appearance of the Dossiers Secrets in the National Library of France. These documents claimed that Saunière was merely a small part of a global secret society called the Priory of Sion, whose Grand Masters supposedly included Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton, and Victor Hugo. However, investigative journalists later discovered that the documents were forged by a French monarchist named Pierre Plantard. But here is where the story gets strange. Even after the forgery was exposed, many researchers remained unconvinced that the story was a total lie. They argued that Plantard may have used a hoax as a smokescreen to protect a kernel of truth, that something massive was hidden in the valley, and the forged documents were meant to steer the public away from the real location. The modern quest, LiDAR and ground-penetrating radar. In the 21st century, the search for the Rennes-le-Château treasure has moved from shovels to high-tech sensors. In the early 2000s, an architectural team used ground-penetrating radar inside the church. They found something the government had denied for years, a large man-made cavity beneath the floorboards near the spot where Saunière allegedly found the parchments.
The area local authorities, fearful of further treasure fever damaging the historic site, immediately shut down the investigation and refused to grant a digging permit. This sparked a new wave of outrage among enthusiasts. If there is nothing there but dirt, they ask, why is the French government so determined to keep the floor sealed? The true treasure of Rennes-le-Château might not be gold coins or even a holy bloodline. When you look at the sheer effort Saunier put into his Villa Bethania and the Tour Magdala, you see the work of a man who was desperately trying to leave a message for the future. Maybe the treasure was the Visigothic hoard, buried when the Roman Empire fell. Maybe it was the lost archives of the Cathars, the heretics who were wiped out by the Inquisition in the 13th century. Or maybe, as Marie Denardon once hinted, it is something so profound that it would render money irrelevant. To this day, the village of Rennes-le-Château remains an island of mystery. The camo dudes of the Nevada desert have their counterparts here in the French gendarmerie who patrol the graveyard, watching for any sign of a modern-day Saunier with a shovel. The story ends where it began, with a priest, a church, and a secret that refused to die. Bérenger Saunier entered Rennes-le-Château as a man of God, but he left it as the architect of the world's most enduring riddle. The treasure is still out there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the person who can finally connect the painting, the light, and the stone. Conclusion: why the mystery persists. The mystery of Rennes-le-Château endures because it touches on the deepest human desires, the search for hidden wealth, the thrill of the hunt, and the possibility that history is not what we've been told. It is a story that bridges the gap between the medieval world and the modern age, proving that even in our world of satellites and Google Maps, there are still places where the shadows are deep and the secrets are real. While the parchments and the blue apples provide a roadmap for the curious, the deepest roots of the Rennes-le-Château mystery reach back even further than a 19th century priest. To truly understand what might be buried in the red soil of the Languedoc, we must look at the two most enigmatic groups to ever inhabit these mountains, the Knights Templar and the Cathar heretics. Part 7. The Templars' Secret Bank. Just a few miles from Rennes-le-Château sits the ruins of the Château de Blanchefort. In the 12th century, this castle was held by a family closely tied to the Knights Templar. History tells us that Bertrand de Blanchefort, the 6th Grand Master of the Templars, hailed from this very region. The Templars were the world's first international bankers, amassing a fortune that made kings jealous. When King Philip IV of France ordered their mass arrest on Friday, October 13, 1307, he expected to seize their legendary wealth. But when his soldiers broke into the Paris temple, the vaults were empty. Legend says that on the eve of the arrests, a small group of knights escaped with a pack of mules laden with heavy chests. Their destination? The rugged, cave-riddled mountains of the Languedoc. Local lore suggests that the Templars utilized the existing Visigothic tunnels beneath Rennes-le-Château to store their gold, and perhaps the sacred relics they recovered from the Holy Land. If Saunier found a treasure, he may have simply stumbled into the back door of the world's most famous missing bank.
Part 8. The Cathar Legacy, the Pure Ones. Before the Templars, there were the Cathars, a dualist Christian sect that believed the material world was evil and the spiritual world was good. The Catholic Church viewed them as a mortal threat, launching the Albigensian Crusade to wipe them out in the 13th century. The most famous moment in Cathar history occurred at the fortress of Montségur, not far from Rennes-le-Château. As the fortress was about to fall to the Crusaders, 4 Cathar perfects reportedly lowered themselves down the sheer cliff face at night. They were carrying a treasure. Historians argue that this treasure wasn't gold, but the Cathar archives, ancient texts that contained a version of Christianity radically different from the Vatican's. Some believe these texts proved that Jesus was human, married, and a father.
If Saunier's parchments were actually these lost Cathar documents, it explains why the church was so willing to pay him to keep quiet. Knowledge, in this case, was far more dangerous than gold. Part 9. The Nazi Interest. Otto Rahn's Grail Quest. The mystery of Rennes-le-Château even drew the attention of the Third Reich. In the 1930s, a young German historian named Otto Rahn became obsessed with the link between the Cathars, the Templars, and the Holy Grail. Rahn believed that the Grail was a physical object, a set of tablets or a stone, hidden in the caves of the Languedoc. Rahn's work caught the eye of Heinrich Himmler, who funded Rahn's expeditions to the region. Rahn spent months exploring the caves around Rennes-le-Château and Montségur. While he never officially claimed to have found the Grail, his mysterious death shortly after his travels and the Nazi obsession with the area suggests that they believed something of immense power was hidden there. Rahn's life and exploits would later serve as a primary inspiration for the character of Indiana Jones. Part 10. The Human Cost, the Curse of the Search. Searching for the Rennes-le-Château treasure has rarely ended well for those involved. Beyond Saunier's strange death and his housekeeper's silent end, the village has seen a string of tragedies. In the 1960s and 70s, several treasure hunters were found dead in the surrounding hills under mysterious circumstances, some from falls, others from unexplained heart failures. The most famous case involved a man found in a nearby cave with a map of the village and a look of pure terror on his face. The curse may just be the result of dangerous terrain and treasure fever, but locals warned that the secret of the village is protected by more than just stone. As the inscription above the church door warns, this place is terrible. Part 11. The Conclusion, a riddle for the ages. So what is the final truth of Rennes-le-Château? The evidence suggests it isn't just one thing. It is a historical crossroads. It is the place where the gold of the Visigoths, the secrets of the Cathars, the bank of the Templars, and the ambition of a 19th century priest all collided. Berenguer Saunier may have been a fraud, a saint, or a guardian, but his real legacy was giving the world a mystery that can never be fully solved. He proved that even in our modern mapped-out world, there are still pockets of the earth where the past refuses to stay buried. Rennes-le-Château remains a silent sentinel on its hilltop. The wind whistles through the Tour Magdalene, and the sun continues to cast its blue apples every January. The treasure, whether it be gold, blood, or truth, is still there, resting beneath the feet of every tourist who walks those narrow streets, waiting for someone with the right key to turn the lock. While the previous sections touched on the broad strokes of the mystery, the true magic of Rennes-le-Château, and the reason it remains an obsession for American and European researchers alike, lies in the physical evidence left behind. Berenguer Saunier didn't just spend money, he built a living map into the very architecture of his parish. Part 12. The Code of the Stones, a church like no other. When you walk into the Church of Mary Magdalene today, you aren't entering a standard place of worship, you are entering a three-dimensional puzzle. Saunier spent an enormous portion of his wealth specifically on the interior decoration, and every choice he made seems intended to provoke a question. The demon Asmodeus. Standard Catholic churches usually feature a benign angel or a saint at the entrance. Saunier chose Asmodeus, the Rex Mundi, or King of the World, or the guardian of Solomon's hidden gold. The fact that this demon is seen crouching under the weight of the holy water suggests that Saunier had mastered or tamed a great secret. The four angels. Above the demon are four angels, each making a specific hand gesture. To those trained in esoteric symbolism, these represent the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water, hinting that the treasure might be related to alchemy or the transformation of the soul. The inverted stations of the cross. In the 14th station, most churches show Jesus being placed in the tomb. In Saunier's church, the moon is clearly visible in the sky.
According to Jewish law, the Sabbath begins at sundown and no burial could take place then. This suggests that the body was being moved secretly, or that the person being carried was actually not dead, a central pillar of the Jesus survived the cross theory. Part 13, the Tomb of Arcs, the map in the landscape. The Poussin connection we discussed earlier isn't just art history, it's a geographic reality. In the 1970s, a researcher named Henry Lincoln, co-author of Holy Blood, Holy Grail, used a compass and ruler on a map of the region around Rennes-le-Château. He discovered something that seemed impossible. 5 mountain peaks and ancient religious sites around the village form a perfect pentagram in the landscape. This pentagram of mountains isn't just a natural coincidence, it aligns perfectly with the geometry found in Poussin's The Shepherds of Arcadia. Even more startling was the discovery of a physical tomb in the nearby village of Arcs that looked identical to the one in Poussin's 19th century painting. For decades, it was a smoking gun for treasure hunters. However, in a strange twist of fate, the owner of the land grew so tired of trespassers that he dynamited the tomb in 1988. The physical evidence was turned to dust, but the coordinates on the map remain, leading many to believe that the tomb was merely a marker for a much larger underground vault. Part 14, the modern GPR discovery, the Knights Tomb. In 2001, a team of researchers received a rare permit to use GPR inside the church. They weren't looking for gold, but for structural anomalies. What they found was a large rectangular cavity directly beneath the altar of the Virgin. The radar showed what appeared to be a stone sarcophagus, the Knights Tomb. Based on the size and location, some historians believe it contains the remains of a high-ranking Merovingian king, or perhaps a secret cache of documents from the Crusades. When the researchers requested permission to drill a small hole and insert a fiber optic camera, the French Ministry of Culture denied the request and revoked their access. The floor was sealed, and a new layer of concrete was added. To the local community, this was proof of a cover-up. Why stop a non-invasive camera? What is the church or the French government afraid the world might see?
Part 15, the Da Vinci Code effect and the final reflection. The mystery of Rennes-le-Château eventually became the engine for one of the biggest pop culture explosions of the 21st century. When Dan Brown wrote The Da Vinci Code, he borrowed heavily from the Saunière story. The character, Jacques Saunière, is a direct tribute. But while the novels are fiction, the reality of the Languedoc remains. It is a place where history feels thin, where the ghosts of the Templars, the Cathars, and a very wealthy priest still seem to walk the hills. The treasure of Rennes-le-Château is ultimately whatever you need it to be. If you seek gold, there are legends of Visigothic hordes. If you seek faith, there are theories of the Holy Grail. If you seek mystery, there is the silent demonic statue of Asmodeus. Bérenger Saunière died with his secret, but in doing so, he created something far more valuable than gold, a story that forces us to question everything we think we know about the origins of our culture. The village stands today as a monument to the idea that some secrets are too big for one man to keep and too dangerous for the world to know. Part 16, the art of the forgery and the kernel of truth. As the 20th century progressed, the mystery of Rennes-le-Château became entangled with one of the most sophisticated hoaxes in history. In the 1960s, a man named Pierre Plantard claimed to be the rightful Merovingian heir and the Grand Master of a 1,000-year-old secret society called the Priory of Sion. Plantard and his associates planted forged documents, the dossiers secrets, in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris. These documents proved that the priory had protected a secret for centuries, that the Merovingian kings were the direct descendants of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene. While the French courts eventually forced Plantard to admit the Priory of Sion was a modern fabrication, the damage, or the magic, was already done. Researchers pointed out a strange coincidence. Plantard was obsessed with Rennes-le-Château long before he started the hoax. Why choose this specific tiny village as the centerpiece for his grand deception? Many believe Plantard didn't invent the mystery out of thin air. He took a pre-existing, terrifying local secret and wrapped it in a layer of fake genealogy to make himself look important. The hoax was the shell, the truth was the pearl inside. Part 17: The Grand Scroll and the Alchemical Cipher. The most enduring piece of evidence remains the alleged Grand Scroll found by Saunière. While the original has disappeared, copies circulated in the 1960s. The text was a Latin passage from the New Testament, but it was written with strange, misplaced letters. When these letters were decoded using a knight's move cipher, like in chess, across a specific grid, they revealed a message that has driven codebreakers mad for decades. Bergère, pas de tentation que puissant tenir, gardez la clé. Shepherdess, no temptation that Poussin and Tenière hold the key. This message directly links the priest's find to the painters Nicolas Poussin and David Tenière. For the American audience, this feels like a real-life national treasure. It suggests that the treasure is a geometric location that can only be found by overlaying 17th century art with the topography of the French countryside. Part 18: The Archaeological Stalemate. Today, Rennes-le-Château is a village under siege, not by crusaders, but by its own legend. The French government has declared the entire village a protected historical monument, but this is a two-edged sword. It prevents the site from being destroyed by amateur diggers, but it also prevents legitimate archaeologists from solving the mystery once and for all. In the 1990s, a team of independent researchers used LiDAR to scan the valley. They found evidence of an extensive underground network of tunnels and chambers that don't appear on any official maps. One of these chambers is located directly beneath the Tour Magdalene. Saunière's library tower wasn't just a place to read, it was likely an access point or a vent for something buried deep in the bedrock. Whenever a new discovery is made, the gates are slammed shut. The Catholic Church remains silent, and the French Ministry of Culture remains bureaucratic. This wall of silence is what fuels the fire. In the digital age, where everything can be Googled, Rennes-le-Château remains one of the few places on Earth where a secret is still a secret. Part 19: The Human Legacy. Marie's Final Silence. To understand the weight of this story, we must return to Marie, the woman who stood by Saunière for 32 years. After the priest died in 1917, Marie lived in the Villa Bethania for another 36 years. She was the only person who knew where the money came from and what was found under the altar. In the 1940s, when the French government introduced a new currency and required everyone to explain the source of their old wealth, Marie famously burned a massive pile of banknotes in her garden rather than explain where they came from. She chose poverty over betrayal. Before she died in 1953, she told her friend Noël Corbu, "My friend, the secret I carry is so great that it would change the history of the world. But it is a secret of the soul as much as it is a secret of gold." She died before she could say more, leaving a void that millions of words have since tried to fill. Part 20: Conclusion: The final meaning of the treasure. The story of Rennes-le-Château's treasure is a journey through the darkest and most brilliant corners of the human experience. Whether Saunière found the gold of the Visigoths, the sacred bloodline, or simply a clever way to defraud the church, he succeeded in something much more profound. He created a myth that refuses to be debunked. For the USA audience, Rennes-le-Château represents the ultimate cold case. It is a reminder that history is not a static list of dates in a textbook, but a living, breathing puzzle. It tells us that a single person, even a humble priest in a forgotten village, can stumble upon something that shakes the pillars of the world.
As the sun sets over the Pyrenees and the shadows of the Tour Magdala stretch across the valley, the mystery remains. The blue apples will fall again next January. The demon Asmodeus will continue to guard the door. And somewhere, perhaps just a few feet beneath the red dust of the Languedoc, the truth is waiting for the next shepherd to find the key. Summary of the mystery's components. The artifacts: 4 parchments, a hollow Visigothic pillar, and a coated tombstone. The architecture: a church guarded by a demon, a tower on a cliff, and a mansion for a kingly priest. The candidates for the treasure: Visigothic gold, the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, or evidence of Jesus' marriage. The verdict: while the gold may be gone, the information treasure continues to generate millions in tourism and research every year.